The QuickTime is also rolling. Oh, we're live. We're live. Hey.
We're live.
We're also live. We're live on all the platforms. Awesome. Hey,
Yes.
Dave. Good morning.
Morning. Evening for you.
Thank you very much. It is evening for me. And I have a different background because, my office is already 90% packed up and there's no desk in it anymore. So I'm sitting at my dining table and I'm holding my microphone in my hand.
You are indeed. Daniel is holding it.
Daniel's holding it. That's what I'm doing. Yeah.
How long have you got left now before launch happens and you are off?
Exactly 1 week-ish, minus 1 day. Because it's kind of like a 2-stage process. There will be a lot of packing in the next few days and putting things in boxes and putting things away and disassembling things. Then next Wednesday, which is in 6 days, there will be movers coming and picking everything up. And next Thursday, which is in 7 days, I will, in the morning, take the cats, which will be the last things in the apartment. I will put them into the car because they actually are not allowed in the moving van, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
I will give them controlled substances, which my vet gave to me.
Mm-hmm.
That will hopefully calm them way the F down.
Yep.
And then I will put them in the car, in their little cages, and I will pick up a buddy who's going to be my co-pilot. And then we're going to drive all across the Federal Republic.
So you're off.
Little road trip.
On your way to Hamburg.
Right.
Where you will then be based.
Which is very exciting and which is very cool because it's a very nice city and there's going to be so many things to explore. I want to see what other places where the virtual and real places where the startup people hang around. I want to see where are the Linux open source nerds and the Chaos Computer Club nerds hanging around.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably going to be music things. I have in the back of my head, I have this thought that maybe I want to do some music again. I don't know. Might be able to connect to people there. And also there's actually a karting track, just 30 minutes away from the apartment by public transport. So I'm going to check that out.
Handy.
Also, Lisa gifted me a book with fantastic biking routes that I'm going to have to check out all of them. And so, there's lots to do.
That's great. That's really
also
great.
The fact that Berlin is just 1.5 hours by train away is also nice.
So lots of new things, lots of new opportunities and things to explore. That's awesome. Really, really cool. And we're going to get a new background on for the YouTube part of the show for you.
I'm ripping off the foam insulation, the sound insulation thingies, off my wall tomorrow, which is going to be sad. The glue that I used is supposed to come off perfectly from the walls, but I'm not having much hope for the actual foam thingies. I'll be happy. I'll be really relieved if the walls are okay. Actually, I'm going to have to repaint the walls anyway, but I hope they don't disintegrate. And I don't think I'm going to put foam things into my new office, at least not immediately, because the cats are kind of have destroyed the ones I have. They're just going to destroy the new ones. So let's see how I don't want to have echo problems, but let's see how it goes, one step at a time.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, and then I'll introduce you from Hamburg, but this last time from Augsburg, Germany. Hey, welcome to Waiting for Review, a show about the majestic indie developer lifestyle. Join your scintillating hosts to hear about a tiny slice of their thrilling lives. I'm Daniel, a horizontally rotating fish, and I'm here with Dave, a sleep paralysis demon. Join us while waiting for review.
That's right. If you've ever been unable to move but sat there in bed, it wasn't me. Stop that, Daniel.
You're denying everything.
If I had demonic powers, I certainly wouldn't be visiting listeners of this show, so don't worry about that. Right. Well,
yeah, because next week I'm probably not be able to be able to record. I mean, you could in theory wake up in the middle of the night, or if you go to bed at midnight, just call me on my phone. Mm-hmm. My car has CarPlay, so I can answer. we can have a little chat, and you can record that. My buddy Katzenai Joe will be there.
Yeah.
He's going to be, like, he has some podcast experience. Like, he has a German language podcast.
Yep.
Can have and Bimmy and Momo can join as well.
Yeah, they won't be very loud though, will they? They'll be pieced out in the back.
It won't be a fun listening experience also. Like, I mean, our audio is not super pro quality, but I kind of feel like we're kind of easy to listen to.
I hope so. But I think I might take a pass on doing the show with you on the move.
You're taking a what, Dave?
I think I'll pass on that, is what I mean.
Pass with an A.
Daniel, if I was taking the piss, you'd know about it, mate.
I was a tiny bit confused.
Oh, sorry, dude.
Yeah, I was not. I was being facetious. Oh my God.
Easy for you to say.
No, it isn't. As evidenced by this recording.
It's no, I think I will pass on the recording while you're on the move. It might be nice to say hello, but I'm not sure it'll make for the best of podcasts, because not least of which I don't want to distract you from the road. Unless your co-driver is driving, that could be an option.
He probably won't. Mm-hmm. But yeah, but that's why I have a co-driver, so he can take care of the cats if anything occurs.
Yep.
So I can concentrate on the road, and also, like, it's mostly autobahn, which is just you put the cruise control in and just point it in the correct direction. So that's
point and click.
And
all right, so
the car
maybe
has this active cruise control where it's not like autonomous or anything, but it will keep in the lane, and it will also keep the distance to the car in front. So that's actually very relaxing for these long drives. And I just love driving cars. Like, of course, it's bad for the environment, and of course, like, even electric cars are not great because it's still individual transport, but it feels really nice. Like, I know some people don't like driving cars, and that's totally fine. But like, for me, it's so calm and so nice. And whenever I'm sitting with people in the car, also, like, we have these deep conversations, and so that's just nice, you know?
Yeah, I get that. I do get that. I certainly love a road trip, and I never used to enjoy driving, but something clicked maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and I was like, yeah, no, this is all right. And yeah, I get a lot more enjoyment out of it these days. But yeah, you're right. The environmental side is always in the back of my mind these days. I certainly do query if I need to do short journeys or not.
Which is fair.
Yeah. But Daniel, you did something.
Yes.
Look at me. I'm very 2 days ago. Yeah.
I'm way prettier than usual because I got a haircut, I got a shave, and I re-dyed my beard. So it's very, like, strikingly blue right now. And I did that because we did a photo shoot, and that was, like, way fun. Like, it was, of course, exhausting too, but, like, so a few years ago, I want to say 3 years ago, Lisa was like, Daniel, let's go to a professional photographer and get photos taken, because we can use those on the websites, on the press releases, on the Instagrams, on the LinkedIn's, all those things, you know. And that was actually a really good idea. We took those photos, and I submitted a few, like, conference talks, and, like, had a good cover photo for those, and that was just, like, a good idea. And so now we're gonna use those up. Like, all of them have been used multiple times. And so she was like, while you're still here, let's just get a new set of photos. And we chose a different photographer this time. And she had a fantastic studio in an old industrial park. So it was, like, in this old industrial building. It had huge windows. The room was, like, beige white, so very bright, like, fantastic lighting. So the day before, I went to the barber, got this haircut. Like, it was even prettier than I am now, because, like, it was, like, kind of properly fixated with the gel. Not even gel. Like, they have this powder that is kind of like,
oh no, the sort of stuff like a clay type powder
wet look. Yeah, I have that at home actually, but I didn't put it in today, which I kind of should have. Anyway, and so yeah, I felt good. I felt pretty, and, like, I wore different outfits, and I felt really good in a shirt. And I was like, maybe I should wear shirts more often, because for me, shirts are always like you gotta dress up for the man.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. like, oh, you gotta like dress up in this weird uniform and you have to wear the tie and then the whole suit around it, and it's all very constricting and not fitting properly, and also like it takes so much maintenance to like keep everything clean and whatever. But now I'm kind of like, but just a shirt and a pair of jeans, like that is actually not so much maintenance. Like the shirts that I have are a brand that do not need to be ironed. Like you just like hang them up on the hangers and they kind of like straighten out. So I could just wash them myself and like wear them more often. I'm I'm considering, like new city, new me.
Fair play, fair play. And like there's something to be said every now and again for shaking these things up as well.
Yeah.
So
And we took so many cool photos. Like we took individual photos in different poses and with laptops and with phones and walking and sitting and looking at the camera and looking away and all that kind of stuff. And we did like photos together, looking serious, shaking hands, looking happy, looking out into the distance, inspired, ready for the, I don't know, the disruption that we individual of course cause, and like our vision for the future and whatever. We did a few like super weird ones that were like just super fun, like album cover style.
yeah, yeah. Did you do the hip hop album cover style?
No, but we have one where like the in this industrial wall behind us is very visible, and like I'm leaning against the wall, I think, and just like looking straight at the camera with a very neutral expression, and like Lisa is like sitting on a windowsill somewhere, like looking off in the distance, and it's just
Right.
like if you ever see it, like I'm not gonna post those, like we're gonna use them, right? But
Yeah.
if you ever see it, like look back to this episode. Also, I don't have them yet, but like I might show it to you in private. But like the public, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, you have to wait. You have
Yeah.
to
Gonna
wait
have to wait
until the
for the
album
album.
comes
Yeah.
out.
I'm getting hints of industrial EBM, maybe a bit of synth in there somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah, yeah, 80s, but not. It's like a bit of vaporwave sort of synths in there, maybe.
right, right, right. And then some like Nine Inch Nailsy drums, like vaporwave, but like really hard drums that like really crash into you. Yeah, that's my
Right, I
jam.
want to listen to this now. So get on,
Yeah, I'll
hop
hire
to
you
it.
for the visuals, definitely.
Yes, yes, you can.
Yeah, it was like super fun. Also, at the end, it took like 3 hours or so, and then I was exhausted at the end. I was like so tired. Kind of, yeah, like I was like I got out. I drove Lisa home. Then I got groceries for a thing that I'm going to tell you in a second. And then I arrived home and I was like, ugh. And I just like crashed on the couch because it turns out like just keeping up this really high energy was super fun, but also like, just exhausting. And then Lisa writes me like, "Are you as exhausted as I am?" And I'm like, yeah. So yeah, it was fun, but exhausting and worth it though. Like I'm really looking forward to the photos.
Yeah. I'm
I
looking forward
posted
to seeing them, man.
some in process photos on Mastodon. Or I can like while I talk, I think I can try to look them up and send them to you so I can put them into the show notes. And there they
Yeah,
are.
yeah,
And
definitely.
so what I did after I got some groceries because yesterday, so the photo shooting was 2 days ago. Yesterday, I kind of had a goodbye lunch with my coworkers and a few other people from the startup hub that we're in, right? So yeah, I made like Bavarian specialties basically because these are things that I won't be able to get in a while. I actually didn't post
No.
photos of this. I need to post photos of this because hang on, there they are. So I made a special Bavarian specialty called Obatsta, which is a variant of cream cheese that is kind of like a mixture of different spreads, and it's like super tasty because it's very strong tasting. It's very very Bavarian coated, and a few other things like radishes and whatever, and of course lots of pretzels because it turns out like Hamburg doesn't have like good pretzels. So I kind of needed to get my pretzels in before I leave, right? And it was very
Right.
bittersweet. It was very fun, but also kind of sad because this was like kind of the last
But you'll,
milestone before I
yeah,
leave.
I can understand that. But also, people can come up, you can go down. There'll be those moments too.
Right, of course, of course. And also like I am planning to be here in Augsburg every now and then, but still
Yeah,
like this is
it's
now it's getting
bittersweet.
it's getting really real. So yeah, it
Yeah,
was a bit sad, but it was also nice that to feel like people are sad to see me leave because they like me, they value me, and that's kind of nice to see.
yeah. Oh, that's really lovely. Oh, well, um, when this show goes out, you will likely be moved, settled in, we're going to have a bit of lag time on some of these episodes going out, and that's actually deliberate to give you some space to move in and do what you need to do. So, listeners of the show, if you're wondering why, oh, I saw Daniel posted he moved 2 weeks ago, well, that's actually, we're giving him space to get settled in
Also,
and
oh
get
my god,
sorted out.
I'm just realizing, like I said, oh, this is the last show from Augsburg. But the thing is, like next week I'm going to Hamburg. But the week after, I'm actually taking the train down south again back to Augsburg because I need to oversee the renovation of this place. Like, so we hired
Right.
a painter who's going to paint the walls and everything. And so
Yes.
I'll be here for another week, but I'm living at my dad's, I'm kind of house sitting my dad's apartment. So there's going to be another show from Augsburg, but from a different
Brilliant.
apartment in Augsburg. Or I might even go to the TelemetryDeck office to record. I mean, why not?
Well, that'd be fun. That would be fun. But no, dude, it's a big thing. Moving cities, moving that far from where you are, and yeah, I wish you all the best with it all. It's going to be awesome to see you getting into a new place as well, and everything that brings. And also, Telemetry Deck is now, by virtue of you being there and Lisa being in Augsburg, like a multi-city establishment between founders and everything. So that's got to be kind of cool.
It is, yeah. Like depending on who's asking, we're either a Hamburg company or a South German company. Oh yeah. Oh no, that's I gotta connect you to the Hamburg office.
Yes, awesome. I mean, for me, it makes like, point zero whatever of a difference in our calls, right?
Right. But oh well. I have more things to talk about, but I don't want to steal all the thunder. Do you want to talk about your Swift UI bug before I tell you what I did in programming?
You can do. I'm going to talk about a couple of things. Very quickly, we've talked about my moving over to Linux and that end of stuff, and checking that out. That's still a work in progress. My laptop's not here yet. Another week, hopefully. New Zealand is far, Daniel, and my laptop is literally coming to me from the UK. So it's doing this sort of like
Why wouldn't it come from China though? Like I mean, like that might be
it's
a dumb
assembled.
question, but
It's assembled in the UK. It's a
oh, so
Star
it's
Systems
traveling
one.
halfway around the world
Yeah,
to get
yeah,
assembled, and then halfway around the world again.
probably. Yeah, yeah. But
Oof.
it has open boot stuff and all of that end of things. So it comes preloaded, pre-configured, and everything ready to rock and roll. I mean, I'll probably blanket and put my own installation on there, but it will come with Linux with Kubuntu out of the box.
That's kind of neat. So you got like a good start, easy, like
Yeah,
drivers all working and stuff.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Because I just didn't want to have that hassle. I also wanted to support a company that is doing that sort of thing. So yeah, hopefully it's all good and I get a lot out of this. The plan from a dev perspective is that will then be my Android Studio laptop. That's where I'll be doing Kotlin multi-platform work. I still think this is a good plan. It's what I want to go after over the rest of this year. But I have found I do need to keep things updated with the apps that are in the store. I've been in Xcode dev mode over the last week here and there. And one of the things I've been doing, I've got a couple of new features in Go VJ that I think I want to pull together and ship. I've got to keep the customers happy. And also, I'm changing some of the user feedback mechanisms that I've got in my apps, so that will be moving back to being an email-based setup instead of feedback pool. So I'm moving that to that and setting that all up with a specific email address for each app and stuff. So that's been some of what's been on my plate. But the thing that's perhaps interesting is that in the course of updating my app video to audio, which is a little audio extraction app, put a video in, you can take the audio and trim it out of the video. I went to that app. That app didn't need an update. It's using something else for feedback. But when I compiled and ran it, it's been probably maybe 18 months. I have to check the App Store to see when the last update went out. But I noticed something really, really weird. So
Okay.
compiled and ran, it's running on my iPhone, which is the 16 Pro running iOS 18. And one of the slider mechanisms on the bottom of the screen that I've got where you can trim the video down, which is artisanally handcrafted in SwiftUI, didn't work. And I'm like, okay, well, I've not changed anything. I've literally not, I walked back into this code base and it was working and the app is shipped. What's going on? And I flick between the tabs that I've got, and then the control, what was happening is the trim control wasn't updating. So as you slide this slider, it was doing what it was working, but the control itself wasn't updating its position on the screen. Flick between the tabs and it updated. Okay, this is weird, and I've seen some of this weirdness before in one way or another. Listeners to the show, long-time listeners might remember, probably about 4 months ago, I ended up having to do a bit of a deep rebuild of how observability works through my video mixing app. The issue at that time was on iOS 16. A user had messaged me to say, "Dude, what's going on? This thing doesn't work. I have this iPad that's on iOS 16, and your app is now not usable." And the reason I found at that point was because of observability. It was because of an observable object. And the way I had the observable objects being passed down the SwiftUI view hierarchy, they were in there as environment objects. And what was happening is that if you were observing a property several views down, every single parent view would get refreshed every time a property changed on that observable object, as well as the child, as well as the one observing it, regardless of whether that property was being used for anything in the view. And as you might imagine, if you're then changing something very, very rapidly and you've got a real-time video mixing app, it was causing things to stutter and break and drop out. So I fixed that at the time by changing how that worked. I moved everything into static, like a singleton basically for dependencies. I pulled all of the observable stuff out of the SwiftUI layer. I created view models that observed the actual static singleton vended objects. I have a singleton that gives you the dependencies, basically. They're on there as static vars. And so I had view models that would observe that. They would then publish something, the SwiftUI view, the child view, if you like, would then observe the local version of that data. And everything sort of moves on, right? That worked as an overall approach, and that stopped the issue I was seeing. I wasn't happy about it. Essentially, at the time, the main reason for doing it was to support iOS 16. If I hoisted the base version up to 17 or 18 in terms of what's supported, then the bug went away. So something weird in observability in iOS 16 probably has been changed as part of when observable came in. Yeah, okay, whatever. Yeah, and I found with this other app, with the app that I spoke about at the beginning, I'm looking and I'm going, this feels like that all over again. This feels like something funky in SwiftUI or observability because the published property is changing and the view isn't refreshing, was ultimately the issue. So it's not quite the same, but similar. I flick the base operating system supported up to iOS 18, recompile and run on my phone, and it works. Okay, so this is weird.
This is weird. I did hear about some change in observable objects in SwiftUI, where you could observe, like with iOS 18 now, observe individual properties of them instead of the whole object.
Yeah.
Might
There's
this
a bit
be
of that.
related?
There's the observable protocol as well, which is a slightly different pattern. It's not a protocol, rather it's a property wrapper, but you can make anything observable by saying so. This is observable. And when you do that, it makes all of the properties published effectively on that object and turns it into an observable object. So there's some level of probably a Swift macro based around that property wrapper, some level of boilerplate that's then generically generated for that. I'm not using that. I'm using the old school observable object, as it were, the OG. And the differences here are they must be to do with the SDK itself. Something shifted. And I think it was somewhere
And
probably
it's
last September, October time.
right. And it's weird because it's not compiled into your binary, like even if it comes from Apple, like so that it would
Mm,
behave the same, right? So it's different depending on what OS it runs on, but also different on what your minimum OS version is.
SDK. Yeah. Yeah. And like I say, in this particular example, it wasn't different on the OS. It was actually happening on iOS 18 as well. But it was to do with that lowest SDK being set in Xcode. As soon as I hoisted it up, some other code path must have been engaged. There's probably an if def type flag somewhere in there
Mm.
for iOS 16 that is then not engaged, that has then given appropriate behavior. So I guess the long story short with all of this is like, if you're having these weird observability problems with observable object and you can move on to just supporting iOS 17 or 18, the cheap and easy fix is to just do that. Kill the old support, pull that base
Especially since
SDK up.
18 and 17, as far as I know, didn't drop any devices. So anything that runs 16 can also run 17.
No, there's a split. There's
Don't
a
quote
split
me on that.
there. No, I know that's wrong because that's
Okay,
why I'm supporting 16.
I see. Then I thought it was the case, but
Yeah,
obviously I'm wrong.
yeah. There's I think so anyway. The iPad Pro 9.7, which is really old now,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't support 17.
I have an iPad 1 around here. Does this support iOS 17?
I distinctly
Probably not,
doubt it.
right? It's not like I'm just joking. Like it's not even turning on at this point. But it would be so cool.
Well, we know it isn't, but it's Schrodinger's iPad until you can get it turned on. So
Right.
we'll see.
So, um, like, what do we learn from this other than like, okay, so one thing that we're taking away is that if you're having observability problems, son, I feel bad for you.
Yeah.
Update to iOS, your minimum SDK version
Yes.
to iOS 17 to fix that if
Yes.
possible.
And potentially 18. Like, I feel like this could be a perennial thing, is to just have a look, see what happens when you move that base SDK up. If it shifts behavior, then you're onto something, and you know it's not something you have done in the code potentially, which was obviously my initial instinct. Right, when I got the bug report was, wow, okay, I've screwed something up here. At the very least, I've done something that only works on 17, and I should have been more observant for 16. I mean, yes, in terms of testing what goes out of the door, you should give it a good run through. But also, behavior has literally changed that used to work and was solid. These things ran and worked on 16 before, with older versions of Xcode. Yeah, I guess what have we learned? Every now and again, it might not be you. Xcode likes to
Mhm.
gaslight us on these things. Yeah, but that was what I discovered this week.
As someone who's kind of like developing in their own SDK and APIs, as in like HTTP APIs, like backwards compatibility is a horrible thing sometimes to manage.
Yes, yes. As I sort of said to you before, like I feel like there's an if-def somewhere lurking in there for iOS 16 that is causing whatever side effect that I've managed to pick up. Maybe, but yeah, it's hard. It's hard work, and I don't underestimate the challenge for Apple's teams involved in developing this side of stuff. But it's such a shame because when it works, it's beautiful, right? And injecting a environment object down from the top, for example, as I was doing, and then not having to think about any other sort of dependency injection patterns or anything like that. It's like, this is crazy. This is easy. I was quite upset to have to gut that out of the
How
app.
hard could it be? The answer, dear listener, it's very hard.
Indeed. But yeah, so I will experience all of this all over again in KMP and Compose, no doubt,
It's not
in
going to
one
be
way or
better.
another. No, no.
It's just going to be different
Yes,
because that's the harsh programmer lifestyle.
indeed. Dropping the truth bombs there, Daniel. No, but that's me. I'm passing the mic back to you to tell me more about your world, dude.
I can actually like remember last time I told you about that the fact that I want to try out different TikTok formats.
Mhm.
And I want to hashtag all of them no blockers because I want to kind of introduce them with like, hey, like back in the dark old ages of Agile, people would do a thing called stand up. And I did another one of those, and it went kind of well for my purposes and like for my level of knownness. So I posted the newest one, got over 2,000 views.
Okay.
Which is about twice or thrice what I usually get. So that's kind of nice.
Okay. Yeah.
I also finally found out how to do the thing that I would like to do, which is like give TikTok like a bunch of pre-recorded videos that I kind of like just snap over the course of a day, and then record voiceover after I already see the video. And that like I don't know if that didn't work before or if I'm just dumb. I think I'm just dumb. Like I think I was just holding it wrong. Either way, that really works well for me. And so I had really fun, and it was very quick to do. And I just like gave an overview over the things that I already told you last time, which is like the new features and whatever.
So hold on. Run me past the option with the voiceover again. How is that working?
So last time I told you that it's frustrating because you have to record the voiceover first and then add the videos.
Right. Yes.
I think.
Yeah. I think we had that conversation before. Yes.
And
so you've done it the other way around.
No, right. So what I did is like I recorded, like I knew what I was going to talk about. So I just recorded a bunch of screen video. Actually, I took my phone camera and recorded my screen with it because kind of like felt a bit more dynamic, and I could pan to a cat every now and then to have like a bit of variety. And then I kind of just like drag all those into TikTok on the phone. And then like just like you can like adjust the length of each clip, add a background music, and then you can also record a voiceover. There's a microphone button, and either I didn't see it before or I was trying to accomplish something different. But that's actually kind of neat. Like, actually, even neater would be if I could record the voiceover and then like add the clips exactly to illustrate what I want to show. So that would be like perfect for what I want to do, but like this is good enough. Like this is kind of neat, and yeah,
good enough and out there in the world is better than agonizing about it.
It's actually fun to do those.
That's cool.
So
that's cool.
I've learned something new. I had fun, and this week the next TikTok is going to be about how I did almost nothing because I didn't make any progress on the single sign-on stuff because it's hard. Like suddenly there's like, do you know what CORS is? CORS is cross origin. I don't refer.
I've seen the acronym.
Something. I don't even know what the acronym stands for. It's basically to make sure that only your JavaScript is allowed to access your server. So it's like to prevent impersonation by side-loaded JavaScript. It's like a very sensible security feature.
Hang on.
But also it's driving me nuts.
Cross-origin resource sharing allows web pages to request resources from a different domain than the one that served the page. So it's got to be. It helps to manage and control how resources are shared while across different origins, while maintaining security. So if you're aware of cross-site, what's the phrase?
Scripting.
Cross-site scripting and attacks based around that. This is the undo button on that still lets you do cross-site scripting, but securely. Is that right?
Basically, yes. So on the server side, what I do is like, all right, here's a list of domains that are allowed to connect to me via JavaScript. So that are allowed to like run background fetches via JavaScript to me. And also like here's a list of actual HTTP methods that they are allowed to call. And so this is kind of neat. But also it kind of says, oh, yeah, these are the list of the headers that are allowed. And then if you forget that you need a new header for the single sign-on stuff, then it's just like an hour of debugging. There's also redirects. And then of course I need to like, the first SSO that I want to implement is GitHub. And then at some point GitHub is like, you're sending too many requests. Like we're going to block you for an hour. And then like I'm kind of being logged in, but then it doesn't work anymore. And I'm like, it was horrible. Like I have at somewhere I'm either having a bug or a misunderstanding of how things work. So I didn't make any progress. I'm sorry. But I did like a thing that I did today, actually, what that was really cool was I took two of my coworkers through a really deep dive into how queries get executed on TelemetryDeck. Like, you kind of construct a query on the front end, and then there's a thing on the front end that kind of packages the query, sends it off, and then it has all these steps. It gets pre-compiled, it gets compiled, it gets into a queue, but also there's a cache. So we check if a recent result is already in the cache, and so like we deliver that out and everything. And there's this step called pre-compilation that is really cool, where we kind of are like, this is where we can take a convenience feature of like basically syntactic sugar of the query language and turn it into the actual implementation before like sending it on. And so I was doing that because I want to introduce those two coworkers into the magic realm of like TQL evolution. So now they are inspired every like week or every month or whatever to just like add a tiny bit to TQL to make it an easier to grok language. And also they had fantastic ideas about like how to improve the documentation now that they understand the query system better. So I'm really hoping, I'm really like excited about this because nothing is coming out right now, but like this, I'm hoping that this will make it in the long run, make it easier to get into like, how does TelemetryDeck work under the hood, but also like, okay, I have this really complicated question that I want to ask. Like, how do I ask the question? Because like the easy questions are kind of answered by the UI already. Like, how many users do I have? Like, how many iPad users do I have? Like, are iPad users producing more errors than Android users? Like, this is a question that you can totally ask, but you need to know how. And
right,
with a bit easier abstractions on the query language, and also like better documentation that is more process focused. So it's not like right now we have a reference, like, oh, this is how a theta sketch aggregation works. But what these two coworkers can want to start is a like, okay, I have this specific question, like here's how I go about it. And so also that's also helpful because like people will search for that on the internet and then find that page. And also,
so you're developing like a quick start guide for some of these sorts of queries, then, is it?
So the hope is that you'll be able to use the language before you fully understand the language, because you're not required to like go deep into how it works before getting any value out of it. And also we're doing things like, for example, like as of last week, to find out like how many users you have, you needed to have a theta sketch aggregation over fields of client user, and then add a field accessor post aggregation to actually extract the number from that field. What is a theta sketch? Theta sketch is a very deep algorithm that gives me the number of different values that a field may have, which is really important for me to know. And also the step with the access aggregation and then the post aggregation. It's really cool performance improvement. But like, you don't need to know that.
No.
You really don't need to know that. So instead,
I just want to count the number of iPad errors versus Android errors.
So we have a new aggregation, and that is called user count. And that just does the same thing, but it's just called user count, and it has no two-step thing or whatever. And behind the scene, it just gets compiled into the other thing. But I should have done this years ago. But yeah, so I showed the coworkers also how I did that. And so that if they come up with more convenience features and syntactic sugar for the language, they know where to implement that. And so the hope is that this will bring forward the documentation, but also the language itself, and make everyone happy, me less. Like also, like they can now take over another part of the API that I don't have to program on.
Yeah, it's awesome. And you don't want to keep
I'm just going to ignore the PRs until they like poke me 3 times. I'm sorry if you're listening. I'm really sorry, but I'm just like really busy. And then I can like just like comment on that and have like, oh, can you have like put that thing a tiny bit differently? Like, oh, maybe the tiny bit change, but yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
cool though.
Actually very fun to me and also exciting, and I'm hoping that's a good direction.
Fantastic. Well, it makes sense to me. Like, yeah, I don't think I want to know how a theta sketch works in too much depth, but I do want to know.
So damn interesting! Oh my god, it's so cool.
Yeah. Okay, I'm with you on the nerd out. Don't worry about that. But yeah, no. Practically, when I want to find something out, though, I just want to do a user count. I want this thing, and I guess even if I'm looking beyond the defaults that you've got in TelemetryDeck, and I need to be programming in this layer or pulling together something at that next layer down, I still don't want to have to read a gigantic reference set of material first. Like, I literally don't want to have to read the manual. I just want to get my analytics done. I want to get this job done. So everything that you do to sort of smooth off these edges, I think is incredibly useful for your customers.
I've
And
added
the
links
depth
to
is
the
still there.
documentation. I've added links to
Yeah,
the documentation of what is
yeah,
there, especially of
yeah.
the new event count and user count aggregations.
Hmm.
So you don't need to touch any theta sketches.
No,
Don't
that's
get your
great.
hands
And
dirty.
I'm scanning that now, and this reads very well. Although there is still a reference to theta sketch halfway down there, Daniel, but that's fine.
Yeah, because this is the
Anybody
list. This
who's
is the complete
yeah,
reference of all the aggregations, right? And of
yeah,
course,
yeah, yeah,
the convenience ones are at the top, but of course there needs to be a reference to theta sketches, because what if you want to either count like number of values for a different field, or what if you want to create the theta sketch object, but and then run multiple operations on it? Well, then you need the theta sketch aggregation. But then you kind of like at that point you probably are deeper. Well, there's like another step in the learning curve, and you don't have to go like maybe it's like flattened a little bit, and so that's kind of
yeah,
nice.
yeah. It's I sort of view these ways of learning a little bit like you're in a I guess the analogy I would want to use is swimming off the side of a beach, and you've got the shoreline goes out, and like it keeps dropping off in depth as you go out. And I think what you do by creating convenience excesses, by simplifying down approaches and documentations into things, you're making it more of a gradient. You're making it more of a ramp down into each bit. The depth is still there if you need to be in that end of things. But yeah, you're making the drops less of a sudden thing.
It also helps with like implementing UI, because like if you have very like simple JSON objects behind them, like writing the UI in a way that is also very simple, so that makes that easier too. So
Yeah,
I want to tell
it's
you one
fantastic.
other thing, because I want to have another, because we did so many like callbacks to previous episodes. Like you talked about your
Yeah, yeah.
laptop, and we talked about your Swift UI problem that you like encountered like a half a year ago. And so I think 2 episodes ago, I told you that I kind of wanted to create a fitness tracking app. I hope I
Yes.
did tell you that on the
I
show.
don't know if you. Yeah, I can't remember if that was on the show or in our
I'm
messages,
reasonably
Daniel.
sure,
It
but
all
I'm gonna
blurs.
recap it either way. So what I was thinking was like, I kind of want to go back into shape, but like I have this problem where I either do too much or too little, and like Apple's fitness activity rings don't really fit my purpose, because what they do is they encourage you to work out every day the same. And if I set the limits very low, I will always hit the limits, but it won't mean anything, because I will just like fill the stupid rings without any effort. So I'm not motivated to put in effort. And if I set them too high, I will only really fill those rings on the workout days, but not on the rest days. And I kind of want to have rest days, because I am realizing this as I go more, as I read and listen to more podcasts and stuff like that about fitness, that like rest days are actually kind of important, y'all. Did you know that? Rest days.
Mm.
It's where your body actually builds the muscles. So I was kind of like on fire to build the Duolingo of like fitness tracking apps, where it would like recommend stuff and would also give you kind of a streak, but then the streak would not like stop immediately just if you like had a rest day, because like rest days are kind of important, right?
Yeah.
What I also did was I asked around on the Mastodons, what's your favorite fitness app? And someone recommended an app to me that is called Gentler Streak. I'm putting a link in the show notes, gentler.app. And that is exactly what I was envisioning. Like it's actually even prettier, to be fair. Like it's even prettier. It is so cool. It is a really well written fitness tracking app. It is paid,
Right.
so it's not selling your data. It's you just pay a bit of money for it, and then like you're the customer.
Yeah.
And it also has this really fun, it has this fun concept. So it has this concept of effort. Like zero effort is like I'm doing nothing, and then like so that's on the one side, or like on the bottom of the chart basically, and like super high effort is like I'm doing as much as I can, like I'm like just like almost dying of effort, right? That is at the top of the like the imaginary chart that I'm kind of building in my head, right? What they're saying is like you're building kind of this line chart, and then every day you don't do anything. You're just resting. Your fitness level kind of drops a little bit. But they're also saying this doesn't have to be a bad thing, but because they have like this green I don't know area of the chart where they say like, okay, if you're above, like if you're doing too much, then you kind of need to like rest a few days to get back into the green zone, right? And the UI even like actively encourages you like, okay, yesterday you did a lot, like for your like it kind of like resets to your like relevant fitness level, right? So yesterday you exerted yourself all the way, so you need to do like a few rest days to get back into the green zone. And I've tried it for a few days now, and so far I really feel it. Like it's really nice.
That's wicked. I need to check it out because, well, I've got various health needs that means that regular, like, maxing out exercise is probably not what I'm after. But also something little and often is what I'm after. And
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
you're right. A lot of the usual tools don't really help you with some of these kind of constraints. So
Yeah, and it has a few things that I really liked about it, like that whole concept at first, but
yeah,
also it has way more depth. Like usually all those apps that I try out, they're very like shallow, as in like,
yeah,
okay, they have this concept, but that's kind of it. But then they don't take into your account this or that, and so they're kind of working against you because you can't tell the thing. Like, but this doesn't apply to me, and that like didn't really like it has like sleep tracking and all that thing built in as well. It has it works very well with an Apple Watch. So if you have an Apple Watch, that's kind of the expected usage. But if you don't, you can totally just record your walks with Strava or whatever on the phone. Just like it will just import them, and the only thing you have to do then is like tell the app like how much exertion did that, like how hard did that feel for you personally. Like it will kind of take that from the heart rate and stuff if you don't, if you have that, but otherwise, like it still works, and it has
that's cool.
so many
That's
little
really cool.
tips and tricks, and it will like I don't know, there's like status text that will say stuff like, all right, so you slept well, and also you had a lot of exercise yesterday, so you don't need to do anything. Just like chill, my friend, and like there's enough copy obviously that it actually is true. Like so much like UI copy, especially about like body functions, is just wrong for me. This is cool. This is like I feel very much taken, like seen by this.
I will be checking this out after we've stopped recording, I think, Daniel. But yeah, I'm glad you found it because actually the prospect of you building yet another thing to your already busy dev list sounded a little tricky. So that's probably
Also, it's
something
a
for us to
European
bear in
app. I just
mind.
see that. That's also
There's probably something to bear in mind, actually, like that instinct to go and build the thing versus taking a second and seeing if it already exists and if you can find something that's pretty close to it. Like sometimes that's worth interrogating for yourself. But I also think that actually the exercise of you thinking about what it was you wanted to build helped you find what it was you needed
yeah.
that was
Like
off
and
the
also like
shelf.
I didn't, like sometimes I get these project ideas, and sometimes it's just like I just like to noodle around like
Yeah,
with it, and
that's
that's
not a
also
bad
fun.
thing. Yeah. But no, I'm looking down the site of this thing and I'm like, yeah, that looks useful. In a way that, yeah, currently a lot of things haven't felt useful for me. So thank you for sharing.
I'm very happy. Like, thank you to the people who recommended this to me. Like, I think three people or so like sent me towards this app. Like, I got
Yeah.
a lot of recommendations for others as well, and like I'm so grateful. Like, there were a few like really cool ones, but I think that one was the one that kind of stuck for me for now.
Yeah.
Cool, awesome. Anything else? Final thoughts before we close this for today?
Final thoughts before we close up for today. I think good luck with your move, Daniel. I'm quite happy to tell you that on the show. I'll tell you that in our messages, of course, too. But yeah, I hope everything goes absolutely smoothly with all of that. And yeah, the next time we speak, dude, hopefully my laptop will have finally arrived. I
Are you
could
gonna
tell you all
record
about
on that?
that. I'm going to try. Yeah, let's see
Okay,
how that
cool.
works. It's my new home, so like my new digital home, and I'll be able to tell you how it's working hopefully by that time as well. Because this Mac is getting relegated to being a build server, and I need to get into iOS dev mode, Xcode device, and that's
Wait,
it.
this is a Mac Studio, right? Like,
Yeah.
can I register it with my GitHub runner?
No.
Because I have an M1, I have an M1 Mac Mini as a build server for the TelemetryDeck API, which is, as you know, written in
Okay.
Swift,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
it takes a while. It takes a while.
Can we do that? Could I register this as a runner? I mean, it may as well be out there earning some money when I'm not using it. No, it will be my local runner, and I'm actually, I mean, if this all goes to plan, I'll part ways with a couple of other older Mac laptops that I've got hanging around and things too. So it actually feels like a fairly big move for me personally to be sort of going to this stage, and it might not work. That's the other thing. Like it might not be the right choice, and I might find this out the hard way.
Which is fine also, right? I mean, you could just like try
Yeah.
out stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can always reverse gear, and yeah, yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, I've got some actual practical. This is what it's been like to talk about. No, those are my closing thoughts, Daniel, and good luck with everything. So yeah, speak to you on the other side, dude. Let's close this
See
out.
you on the other side. Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Please rate us on iTunes and YouTube. Send us emails at contact@waitingforreview.com and join our Discord. The link is in the show notes. Also, your task for today is send us a sunshine emoji. Dave, where can people find you?
You can find me in the show notes. Take a look down the show notes that we always talk about, where my social media accounts will be linked, as are Daniel's. But for people who don't want to look at the show notes, where can people find you, Daniel?
You can find me at Daniel at social.telemetrydeck.com on the Mastodons. And I'm following Dave, so just like come to my account and then just click through to the first Dave you find. It's probably the correct one. 15 other Daves are now like shouting up.
Well, on that Dave-shaped bombshell, take care, Daniel. Have a good one.
Sure. Have a great day. Bye.